Quantum Conversations, your portal to the inner realms. Access infinite possibilities, infinite mastery, and infinite love. Mind-expanding, heart-opening conversations with some of the greatest spiritual teachers, luminaries, and healers of today's world. Usher in new earth by living in your sacred heart. Quantum Conversations is brought to you by AcousticHealth.com, home of music from the universe, online healing retreats, and this program. Claim your free registration to daily shows at AcousticHealth.com. AcousticHealth.com, your portal to the inner realms. Our program starts shortly. Welcome to another Quantum Conversation, brought to you by AcousticHealth.com. I'm Loren Gailey, and I invite you to sit back as we enter the quantum realm, that space of the greater part of you. It is your connection to infinite possibilities, infinite potential, and infinite mastery. And as we know, on the path of self-mastery and higher awareness, there is no greater teacher, in my humble opinion, than Kenji Kumara, who truly is on a new earth mission to really bring back an empowered humanity, illumined with light and joy. Kenji Kumara is a quantum catalyst, and he works in the field of new earth, of eternal peace. He is here with us today to share his story and an activation. He is a pioneer in energy consciousness. Kenji, welcome to Quantum Conversations.
Well, hello, Lauren, and hello, everyone, and it's great to be here. I usually don't do a whole lot of shows anymore, so it's good. This is a good treat for me.
It is quite a treat for us as well, and for me personally, I have been aware of your work and your teachings for many years now, and what I love about it, Kenji, is it's new earth directed, and now more than ever this is a really bold time for everyone to really tap into higher consciousness, higher awareness, self-mastery to bring forth new earth. And so this is quite a beautiful time, and these energies that we're experiencing this summer, perhaps you could talk about how they are. Well, it's very polarity is the name of the game, and so explain a little bit about what's going on.
Well, as we know, in my opinion, ever since the turn of the century, and more precisely, well, even going back to 1987, harmonic convergence, some of you were around then and participated in that global kind of awakening for ushering in this new energy that we call New Earth. And then the turn of the century, that was another turning point, and then 2012, according to our outdated, inaccurate Gregorian calendar, that was another big shift. So when these new energies come upon a planet and humanity and nature, it's going to stir up a bunch of stuff, because we all at some point need to let go of all of the old thinking that we historically have held in our DNA, in our brains, in our lower mind, in order to move into what we call the unknown, using the power of trust and faith in creating paradise on earth. And as we know, the more people that move in, are willing to move into this place, the sooner it's going to happen. So the energies have been very steadily stirring up the bottom of the pot, so to speak. And you're going to see continue to see a rise in polarity and conflict And at the same time, there's another level of oneness and unity connection that's also happening. And at some point, some say when we reached 51% of humanity, moving into a greater expanded awareness of connection and unity consciousness, then we'll begin to see it, on every level of our society. And even though a lot of us were disappointed when 2012 came around, it was the same old thing, and it seems to be the same old thing right now, 6 years later, we can't give up. We can't be discouraged. We just have to hold our presence and know that it's affecting change. See, here's the key. When we are willing to shift, then we will. So those that are of the old guard that are holding on to everything that they've accumulated so far in their life, it's going to be that apparent polarity struggle.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And that's not only without, but within. It's our emotional bodies going through cleansing, if you will, of the old emotions that are held in the DNA and in our generational ancestry, which also includes illnesses and diseases and belief systems. So really, the challenge is the willingness to be open to change. And for the ego, that's a very difficult thing initially. It doesn't want to do that. It'll fight it.
Yes,
it'll make excuses.
Mm-hmm.
So we're moving out of this whole matrix of illusion. That's everything that's not true, everything that's false, everything that's based from fear. We're moving out of that, and the call is to move into a place where we base everything, including our presence and our being, on the power of love and compassion. And that's not going to happen overnight. That's the thing that we are going to deal with every day for the rest of our lives here.
Yes. I know some really want it, and it's actually what many of us wake up every day to bring forward, to really bring forward. So there is this requirement of looking at the power of love and compassion. It is a requirement, the spirituality aspect. And we could even replace that word spirituality with consciousness. Yes.
Mm-hmm. And you're going to see more rise in conscious businesses using that term, conscious business, which is really cool. I really like that. And, just basically using the power of awareness to create our lives professionally and personally. And here's the other thing. So we've held the old pattern of taking everything personally. And so we are being called now to shift that, to shift out of taking what people say or do to us personally and move it to the next level. And that takes courage, and that takes strength.
Yes, it does. And the recent window that we passed through of this summer 2018 was very interesting. As we make this shift, we can see, if we are looking closely enough, we can see areas where, yes, we have old patterns that are coming up, and my goodness, it's that shifting out of it, choosing something completely different. How would you say that process goes when we do become aware and stop ourselves?
Well, see, we have a choice. We could learn through love or fear and judgment and guilt and shame and all that. So we have a choice. The new earth is calling for us to learn through joy. Joy is a big time healer, as we know. So we're moving out of blame, shame, and guilt because that's what religion has taught us. And religion, whether people want to believe it or not, has affected all levels of society to this day. Because one of the first things that everybody is exposed to pretty much is some level of religion or spirituality. Now, the newer generation is different. They're not subject to that because the parents are more aware. And so they're teaching their kids about how to be spiritual, which is a very good thing.
Mm-hmm.
But we have to get out of the blame game at some point, because we can't take any of this dualistic thinking into the new earth. It won't allow it. You won't be able to go there as much as you want to if you're still holding on to these old emotions and ways of thinking.
Yes, absolutely. Well, that is beautiful, Kenji. We are creating a conscious business series, and I will advise you on that and invite you to be part of that, because it is a new way. It does take courage and strength. And, you know, on the lighter part of it, let's talk about doing the opposite, because when something came up for me personally in the past week or so, even the past few days, I've just decided, okay, you know what? What if we truly do just let that go? Because it is an old program, a part of a lower consciousness. And so what if we just do the opposite and let it go?
Yes, and that's where the training of the ego comes in. It's almost like training a little kid, you know, in discipline. And in a way, you have to look at the wounded inner child and the ego in the same light, in a sense, of where you've got to be really compassionate and gentle with retraining the ego to think a different way. Because we're going to have the ego, because as long as we have cars, we're going to need to drive our cars.
Mm-hmm.
And your higher self is not into driving cars necessarily, right? That's the duty of your ego, in a sense. So the ego has a place in our lives. It's just that we're going to move out of being controlled by it and have it be more of a witness. And to use the car analogy, it'll be in a passenger seat, and you, the soul, will be driving the car.
Okay. I know there's so many who have really done this work, and they've moved out of this, and they report they are not triggered anymore, and that's a beautiful place. And so it's so important for us to hold our vision, and every step come from this integrity and love and compassion of New Earth. And we can imagine when everybody is there and in that same place or thereabouts.
Well, it's that old saying, too. Whatever you envision is going to happen. You're going to see it in your world. So, yeah, on an ultimate level, be willing to envision a world that's connected and unified and in compassionate behavior and loving attitude. Yes, okay. All right, well, thank you for sharing on that. I want to talk a little bit about you for those who may not be familiar with you. And you are in the Sedona vortexes and the energies of that field, and you have also developed quantum light weaving. We're going to be able to experience a little bit of that. But your name, Kumara, can you share with us more about that? Is that related to Sanat Kumara or the Hindu sages? Well, I think the Hindus have it a little bit not quite accurate regarding their 3 Kumaras or 7 Kumara concept, but yes, the Kumaras are a lineage, and definitely related to Sanat Kumara on Venus. So whether you believe in otherworldly beings or not, probably not important, but for expanded awareness and understanding, Venus, astrologically, has always been called our sister planet. And it is. It's our sister planet in a sense. And they have evolved to where we want to go as a planet, planetary consciousness. And they serve the Kumaras on Venus because they're primarily operate from Venus, although we're all not from a planet or star system. We all come from God. But to put it in a kind of a more of a context for understanding, the beings that work through Venus are like our teachers and our mentors, our big brothers and sisters. And their agreement, in a sense, is to help us with our ascension process, with our planetary evolution, because the Earth has come out of a very dark place historically, going way back millions of years, eons, ages ago. And we're moving back into the light, as you can see. So the Kumaras, when they're born here, there's not a whole lot of Kumaras on the planet, but they're here and they usually work in the background. They're usually not famous. But when you meet another Kumara, there's like a resonance. It's like a kind of a recognition on a soul level. That's how you can tell your soul tribe, in a sense. And so the Kumaras have to, when they incarnate, they have to go through the same veiling and going unconscious like everybody else. But somewhere in their makeup, they have this vision of, like myself, moving through all the stages of evolution and then teaching that to whoever is open and ready to receive the wisdom. So Kumaras teach from experience. They're not intellectual teachers. And they go through all the hardships that we all go through. And they end up being mentors for a lot of people. And also mentors for nature as well. Because nature is also learning from us. And we always have to remember that we're not humans. Nobody's human. We have this vehicle for expression and learning to heal the duality within us. So whenever we get caught up, oh God, my body's going through this, and I've got this kind of illness, or like I've got this kind of problem in my life, you're identifying with the ego and the body. And so we have to remember that we are not any of that. We are unlimited consciousness, and we're expressing through a body. And I've said this so many times, when you master the earth plane, you can go onto any planetary system and do very well. This is, in my opinion, the hardest planet to do your ascension work on. This is the most difficult.
Well,
and the most rewarding as well.
Okay. Well, see, a great polarity there. That is comforting for those who really feel like, I mean, we do run across people that are just really out of it. They're almost given up. But that is very comforting to know that that's our whole mission here, is to see if we can pull ourselves out of it, right? Yes. Healing the duality within. We're going to talk more about healing the duality within. But Sanat Kumara and the story of Venus and his whole story here as a planetary logos and his connection with Lemuria, can you talk just for a quick moment about his role there? And
well, let's put it this way. There is a logos training in the universe. Training.
Yes.
I signed up for that. I signed up for that training long ago. And that's how I sort of met or connected with Sanat Kumara way back when. And that's not an easy curriculum by far. It is not. Would I do it again? I don't know.
Well, what was that like for you? Okay, you said that that's how you became aware of Sanat Kumara. So that story sounds fascinating.
You have to master all the energies. And that takes many, many incarnations to be a master of energy, period, on any level, especially the astral level, of which a lot of humanity is still stuck in. And you can see it being played out in the movies, for sure. But getting back to Sanat Kumara, we are, well, let's put it this way. I have much gratitude for that being because he was the one in particular that saved the earth from going under and being recycled back to essence millions of years ago. The planet got really dark. You think it's dark now? But it was really dark back then, and it had no evolutionary pattern to it. And there was beings from other systems who blew up their planets and needed a home base, so to speak, for incarnating. So the Earth was the Earth allowed them to incarnate, but then they began to control the people. And you see the effects today, obviously. But anyway, he put out a call as a Kumara, as a Logos from Venus, put out a call to the universe because he had a plan to save the planet. And so there was a bunch of Kumaras that said, yes, we would like to help. And there were some Hathors as well from the Doll universe that volunteered. And so they worked together in unison to bring about the evolutionary process for the planet and the Christ principle. They actually instilled in the earth, in the aura of the earth, this evolutionary principle of Christ consciousness. So this was millions of years ago. And he, in a sense, had to leave Venus and overshadow the earth for millions of years. And he left his beloved Lady Venus on Venus, to take care of matters there. And you got to remember, Venus is a teaching planet. There are many teaching temples on Venus and healing temples. And we go there a lot. We're just not aware of it. But that's what some of us do when our bodies are asleep at night. You just don't wander off into nothingness. You go somewhere and you study, or you help out with people that just made transition. I do that too. I help people that make sudden transitions and didn't prepare for their transit. Like people that die in wars or have a sudden death, unexpected. Because it's another side note. You need to prepare for your transition just like you need to prepare for your birth here. And if you don't have the preparation, then it can be a little hairy, as it were, for a while, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
It's intense.
Do you see that in dream space when you help those souls? Or do you see...
Well, I'm not allowed to have conscious memory of those things because... it would be overwhelming. See, if we actually brought back into our bodies when we wake up what we did in the dream state, we would be so overwhelmed with information and data and energy that we probably couldn't function. So the veil, in that sense, is a protective mechanism. So, yeah, people want to be conscious, but if you were conscious of everything all the time, you would not make it here on the earth. You would be so overwhelmed, you wouldn't know how to function.
Okay. All right. So that's mind. Yeah. I mean, that does make sense. Okay. So back to the Kumaras. Were there 144,000?
There was, as in the Akashic records, there were, yes, approximately 144,000 that came with Sanat Kumara and worked with the earth to bring the light, basically, to bring the light. But you got to remember, beings have free will and free choice. So if they're not willing to open up and listen, there's nothing you can do.
Right.
And God respects the free choice of every being. Now, there is a thing called divine intervention. That does happen through the power of grace. But I can't explain why some get it and some don't. But it's all determined by one's willingness to be open. And that's something that the ego has to learn how to do, is to be open. Because the ego's a closed system.
Yes.
And if people aren't guided by their higher self, then they're just going to do crazy things on the earth. And you just watch the news and you see it being played out in the news. So there's a term for that, which I think is really quite accurate. It's called cognitive dysfunction or cognitive breakdown. You know, it's basically where the consciousness, in a sense, breaks down and gets lost, in a sense. Not ultimately, but for a time. We're all going to be saved, in a sense.
Yes.
It's not the way that necessarily the churches teach it.
Okay, so very interesting. So how do you connect with your higher self and maintain that connection? Because that really is the name of the game here. And we can even call that embodiment.
In the retreats is a platform that we teach people how to consciously make that deeper inner connection with self. Yes, we can do this to a degree on the online events and things like that, but it's really in the retreats where it's like you're there physically, usually in a nice nature environment to where you can just let go of your life for 5 days or 6 days and just stay focused on reconnecting. So how do we do it? I don't know if I can explain it because what we do in the retreats is spontaneous. It has no outline, in a sense, no step-by-step protocol, in a sense. It just the information energy comes through spontaneously. And we try to teach that for people, how to be more spontaneous, just in your everyday life. And it just takes practice. So we do it in healing sessions, we do it in online events, we do it at retreats, and then we always emphasize, now, do it in daily life, do it in the marketplace, because if you can do it in the marketplace on planet Earth, you can do it anywhere in the whole universe, in any galaxy, on any planet that needs help. And Earth is not the only one that's in struggle. There are planets out there that also struggle with duality, but Earth is the most dense in the sense of the duality being embedded. And so the higher we go, the deeper we have to go, in a sense.
Yeah. I've heard that Earth is the only planet with money. I don't know if that resonates with you.
Oh, my God. I've thought about this for years. And let's just say I probably agree with that in the way that we use currency. Yeah. I mean, it's crazy. It's a crazy game to play. Yeah. You got to have money in order to survive. God, who created that game?
And if you don't, it costs money. It actually costs money to be poor in America. It costs money.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So then, so energetically speaking, it's a matrix, right? It really is. The paradigm is a matrix. And so, you know, these old belief systems that all have to get out of the way, just like what you're saying, the willingness to be open and surrender it.
Yeah, and to give you an example of conscious business, so we've got businesses that are evolving and rising up, and people are becoming aware of these conscious companies, and they are setting the example on how to do life consciously. So marriage is, well, it's happening, but that's slow, that whole level. But marriage relationships, people are becoming more conscious of like what they're doing in that relationship and their agreements.
Yes. Why did you chuckle there when you said that?
Well, you know, comedy team's always around. But, you know, that is probably. So relationships really do reflect where you're at. So we have to have relationships because that's who we are. We are a relationship. And so marriage, as an example, will bring out the very best and the worst of you, in a sense. And the more conscious the couples are in a marriage, the more joy they're going to have in their marriage. And they'll pass on that to their kids' DNA. So really, it's about coming out of struggle and hardships into joy and inspiration. And really, inspiration is like the motivator behind everything. If you don't have inspiration, forget it. You're not going to go anywhere. You need that as a power that accelerates your movement forward in life. Because if you don't have inspiration, you're going to have depression.
Yes. Okay, this is beautiful. So the inspiration, I know it really is. We talk a lot about passion as well, and you're saying this joy. It really is this cultivating the joy within us. So maybe now would be a beautiful time to really allow us to go through that, because I can say that in the past weeks with the energies, we have been seeing, let's see, the word explosive yet fast manifestation. That comes up, right? So it's really cool on one hand. Intuition is high, but then it could be explosive in the old if the ego really wants to hang on. And we're seeing that in the larger collective as well. So perhaps there's an activation to really heal this duality within us and choose that higher joy, maybe to release like old programs.
Well, we can initiate the movement forward. Okay, so everybody get comfortable and invite your pets. Pets still have this bad habit, shall we say, of taking on the human condition. And they now have, across the board, not every pet, but they take on the human condition. So they get illnesses and diseases that are human. We're going to ask all pets that are in the range of my voice, this radio show, their group soul spirit, to choose another way to be companions for humans. We'll just leave it at that. So they'll be free to choose another way, so they don't die from cancer and overweight and diabetes and aneurysms and seizures and heart attacks and things like that. Okay. So make yourself comfortable as best you can, relaxing the neck, the tension in the neck and your upper back, and feel your feet one with the earth. Feel your feet chakras, one with the sacred heart chakra of the earth. And also feel your crown, your beautiful crown chakra, and all the chakras above your crown, aligned with the core of the universe and supreme creativity. So let's take a deep breath in through the nose and exhale through the mouth. And we're going to start bringing in more light into the body as we breathe in. And take that light into the solar plexus, into the lungs, into the pineal pituitary thalamus, all in one big breath. And just begin to release tension. Any and all kinds of tension. Just let it go as you breathe out, relaxing your face, your fingers, your toes. Just being aware of letting go of tension. That will include anxiety, nervousness, any level of stress, worry, and concern. And just be here now. Be I am. Breathing deeply into the solar plexus, up into the diaphragm, through the throat, into the pineal pituitary thalamus. Now invoke a protective cocoon of light around your body. And feel as if now that you are the midway point between heaven and earth. That you are like a connector point between the oneness energies of the sacred heart of the earth as spiritual consciousness, and the core of heaven, or the core of creativity, the source of all life, light, and love. Make sure your hands are relaxed and your feet are relaxed. And bring your awareness into the still point in your heart center. And also be aware of your third eye activating, your pineal gland. And you're going to consciously connect your power center, the core of your solar plexus, your still point in your heart, and the pineal chakra in your brain. Holding the attitude that you are now going to be more conscious of the orchestration between your power, your heart, and your mind, while being completely connected with the earth and the heavens. Allowing your arms to be completely relaxed. And as the body becomes relaxed, the body becomes more aware and awake and alert. Now, for a moment, just clear all energies that aren't yours out of your field. One big deep breath. Exhale through the mouth. And begin to become aware of your own space, your own vibration. And now with your heart, intend the power of intention and feeling to connect with the essence of your spirit, your soul, your I am. To be able in your body to feel that vibration. And then create the intention, I am here, I am now, I am. And begin to feel the power of joy as first a subtle energy vibration, and then it begins to expand and become more intense and more magnified. And let that power of joyfulness, move through your nervous system, move through your chakra system, move through all levels of your aura. And now breathe that into your daily life. Breathe it in today. Breathe it into your future. Breathe it into your relationships, your business, into the dream state. And we're going to ask your inner child to receive this, and for the ego to step aside. And let's take one thing that you want to manifest this month, any level, and breathe the power of joy and love into that vision of what you want to manifest in your life, what you want to experience in your life for this month of August. Breathe it in how you want to feel for the rest of this month. And then make it so. You can say, and so it is, so be it indeed. It is done. I am. Okay, stay in the present moment. Slowly open the eyes. And just let this vibration continue throughout the rest of the show and into your dream time tonight. Knowing that all is well, no matter what, all is well. And so it is. Many blessings.
And so it is, so be it. Okay, that feels superior. That is very calming. That is very powerful. Empowering is a word that comes to mind. And yes, all right, we're going to hold that vibration. Okay, no matter what, guys, let's hold this.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Wow, I feel really good with that. That feels really, really nice.
Thank you. That was all spontaneously brought forth.
You are almost psychic because it really helped me with an experience that I had even just on Sunday, so thank you. You know, it's the inner child, and it's this is when radical self-care comes in, and this inner child is just receiving all that great joy, so thank you again. All right. Well, there's some questions coming in. Kenji, do you like to receive questions from the audience? I think if we advise our listeners to kind of keep it on topic of what we're talking about, rather than make it too personal in a session, that would be really fun to talk about. We're also going to talk about ways that people can work with you and take this really deep in their lives. Can I ask, there's some questions coming in. Whenever we talk Venus on this show, it is a popular subject. And so there is Nick who would like to know, Kenji, do you have any relationship with Omnek Onek? Do you know Omnek?
Not consciously.
Okay. A very interesting being. I just had to ask that. And what about Valiant Thor?
Thor the god?
Valiant Thor. No, this is maybe where the ufology crowd blends in with our show here.
No, don't know that one consciously.
All right. Good. I just had to ask. Never mind then. It's just amazing. And this connection to Sanat Kumara. One more question there. For those who resonate with Lemuria, and there's many on the show who do, would that then be a connection to Sanat Kumara?
Yes. So, we have different levels of perspectives, obviously. And back in our history, as most people know, there was a battle between Atlantis and Lemuria. Atlantis was more high technology oriented, more the higher mind that misused the technology. Lemurians were, you could say, if you remember as a little kid and you thought about the tropics, you thought about Hawaii or Tahiti, like I did. So that's like Lemurian energy. So that's more of the heart energy. That's more of the perspective of connection and unity consciousness and love for nature and respect for nature and all peoples. So you see the whole Atlantean perspective being played out in movies, especially sci-fi movies, anything having to do with technology. You see it through Facebook and social media. So you can get a sense of how that perspective was misused in the past, and it's a reenactment of today. It's being played out again, and we will see if they continue to misuse it or if they use it for the good of all mankind.
Okay, so let's go holding this vibration that you put us into without getting too dark or whatever. Can you explain a little bit more on the Facebook social media aspect? because for something about that, I've never really been one to want to be too exposed on that. So that's very interesting. Can you elaborate a little bit on what you meant by the Facebook social media being a little more
basically
Atlantean?
where the Atlanteans were, the downside in a sense was they got to a point of where the technology controlled their consciousness. But we have to remember, consciousness creates technology. So if you can envision it within, you can create it without. And part of what the Lemurian energy has to, I guess, become more aware of is to always stay in balance, because there's always a balance with everything: the mind, the heart, the emotions, the intellect, the body, the spirit. So Buddha brought forth some great teachings, and one of them is the middle way, or to stay always in balance within all things. Don't go to extremes. So, the Atlanteans, the Lemurians, all of us were learning about balance. Not to be one-sided or lopsided. To stay in the center within all things. So it's like John Lilly in his book, Center of the Cyclone. Stay in the center of the hurricane or the cyclone. Stay in the eye of the storm where it's completely calm.
Mm-hmm. And when you know what that's like to be completely calm as it's all weathering around you, this is that connection you took us to. Very deep connection there. Beautiful. Yes. Yes.
The world can be falling apart, but you stay in the center of your own cyclone. Yeah. That's where the power is. That's where joy resides. And when we stay in the present moment, that's where the power is. So we're learning to undo the habit of future thinking and to stay in the now. And then the future will take care of itself. It'll unfold gracefully and naturally without a lot of pre-thinking and prejudging and analyzing. So it takes courage to do that. It takes great courage. But again, it takes willingness.
Yes. And it brings me back to what you said earlier about, marriage or relationships. It takes you really into, both greatest and worst version of yourself. So that is a great mirror for this process, this ascension process. Okay. Look
at it this way. We already, on some level, we're already ascended, so no big deal. It's just the body's got to catch up.
Let's talk just for a quick moment. There are some questions coming in here about this. In your own process, Kenji, with this connection and this work, and as you went through the Logos training, oh my goodness, what was the physicality like for you? Did you get periods of being dizzy, not being in your body? I mean, mastering all of the energies, physically, what was that like for you?
Just imagine going through every possible experience you can imagine emotionally and psychologically.
Wow. Both positive and...
Not to mention energetically or physicality-wise. It's like boot camp, magnified. It's like going through all your fears, going through all your doubts.
Yeah.
And that, that's a training that takes a long time.
Mm-hmm.
To be a Logos of a planet, you just don't say, okay, I'll go through the training and you graduate in 4 years. It's like many lifetimes on many different systems and planets and universes. So in a way, you become like a world traveler, in a way, in the galaxy, which is pretty cool. because also logos have to deal with all kinds of personalities and cultures and races. So on the planet, there are basically 250 different races that represent 250 different planetary systems. And they're all on one body of planet trying to get along. 250 different perspectives and religions. But essentially saying the same thing, essentially. But then got misguided and got dogmatized and all of that. So now it's really unrecognizable. But in the beginning, there was an essence that was the common denominator. You know, God is love.
The two planetary systems were...
Say again?
Did you say that we 250 coming from
250.
two planets? Okay,
250 different planetary systems, yes.
Oh, from planetary systems.
Systems, all on Earth, trying to understand each other without killing each other yet. See, that's why you have what we have. And if they all realized, hey, we came from many different places and we're here to learn to get along. So let's get along. Oh, gee, that's simple.
Yes, let's get along.
Let's share food, water, housing, you know. Share money. Send money by PayPal.
Yeah, you know, there's a lot. Okay, so there are some new Earth systems, and this would be a nice time to talk about that because I absolutely love it. This whole crowdfunding, this is beautiful. There are solutions, and what is happening that I'm noticing on a greater level is we can have an idea, but if it's our idea, other people get it, and then it's just whoever takes action to really come into that physicality of that idea. You know, there are Kickstarter campaigns or other platforms called crowdfunding where people can start a business.
They can,
and that's beautiful. Yes. They can.
It is.
Then there's certain, like, you know, when you look out at our world, there's certain, like, no-brainer things, like every rooftop, every replaced roof, every new build could have solar panels. I'm not talking the big solar screens, but solar roofing tiles. And then if you go Google that, we'll find out that Elon Musk is already on top of that.
Cool.
So isn't that interesting? Or gutter systems, rain catchment, gutter systems for all houses. So it goes from gutter to filter to faucet. And so these are some of the new Earth dreams that will come forward. And I love the work that you do because it really is empowering people to step into that new role. And we can see that once people, really cultivate these energies from within and master these energies, like you said, going through all their fears and all their baggage, deciding to leave it all behind, this is the inspiration that comes forward.
Well said. So one of the benefits of technology is you can Google it. And you can, if you Google the right phrase or words, you'll find stuff you go, oh my God, didn't even know that existed. So where there's an idea, there's a way. So what we tell people is, like Joseph Campbell says, follow your bliss. That's very accurate. I don't know what to do, Kenji, but I need to quit my job because it's very toxic. Okay. Now, what is your vision? I always get people to go back to early childhood. And I always ask them, well, what can you do? What did you love to do as a little kid that you had no training in but that you were really good at? Do that. Start a business, a conscious business doing that. It could be anything. It doesn't have to be the so-called spiritual stuff. You don't have to be a healer, life coach, psychic, channeler. You don't have to do that. Just whatever brings you joy, do it. Start a business and do it. You'll get the funding. The money will come when you have the vision. Well, I don't know what my vision is. Yes, you do. Again, go back, tap within, go within, and feel what you can do in a gifted way that nobody taught you how to do. And do that. I don't care if it's making bread at home in your kitchen. You can create a business on anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, I'm going to give the audience an example here, and I think the video is going to be in my November or October newsletter. We send one out once a month. And I like to put in there, inspirational videos or my friends' websites that are doing really nice work. So I'll give you an example. I don't know her name, but she was on 60 Minutes. I saw it on TV. She was 8 years old then. She's 11 now. And she composes and plays her own music, basically on the piano, but she plays other instruments. People have thought that she appears to be like an incarnation of Mozart or Beethoven or Bach, one of those classical composers that were very gifted.
Mm-hmm.
She's 8 years old when they aired this, I think. And they showed her playing the piano, and you could swear it was like Beethoven or Bach. So in the conversation, the interviewer asks her, well, how do you get your inspiration? How do you get this information, this knowledge about how to compose music and play when you're so young? And without her even thinking, she goes, well, I go to my imaginary world where there are all these composers, and I talk to them, and I ask them questions, and they give me answers. Duh, that's a download.
Yay, isn't that cool? That's so cool.
Yeah. That's her imaginary world, but it's so real to her. It's like as real as our conversation here on the radio show. She gets her music from those beautiful composers of our past and future. She actually has conversations with them. Seeing how if we did that with anything, wow, life would really be fun.
Yes. Yes, when everyone's connected to this higher self, this quantum mind, the unified field. Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh. And isn't it so simple that it happens when we are doing something that we love, right? We could be sitting behind our desk and just go outside and go hike in nature and do something that we love and find the greatest inspiration that comes from that. So, yeah, there it is. So that's part of the balance that you're talking about, too, is to really, when we let go of old programmings, I think that's one of the hardest things for, like, the new entrepreneurs to do is to get out, when you get out of that old matrix, not to feel guilty when you do take time to go out and enjoy yourself. Again, because that's where the inspiration comes.
Yes, many, many masters have said they go out in nature for their inspiration. Well, yes, that's true. And we're going to learn how to do it in the marketplace, in the middle of a big city with congestion and traffic and noise and pollution and everything else.
Yay.
We will. But, yes, in the meantime, go out in nature and reconnect and start to receive your inspiration and your ideas, your divine ideas.
Yes, beautiful.
See, for most of my life, I never shared my divine ideas. I kept it within. It's only until I had a platform where I could teach. And that was basically, 15 years ago, 16 years ago, I guess, more or less in a consistent way, that I began to open up from my shyness and began to just express.
See, that's where the big, deep courage comes in as well, and overcoming doubt. And so how did you find that you got over the caring what other people think program? Or, if you put a YouTube video out there, people are going to throw rocks at you. How did you get over that?
I never really had that, I don't think.
Oh, good.
No,
right.
Mine was more shyness. I was, for most of my life, we're talking most of my life, I was shy. I was psychic and shy because my parents never gave me permission to be expressively psychic. So, like, if you don't give a child permission to be psychic, they're going to have a tough time.
what did you do? Would you see things and know things?
Oh, I felt things and I saw things, yes. And I never said anything to anybody. Give you one example. When I was younger, like in my teens and my 20s, I would go to a party and I would end up with a stomach ache and have to leave. Well, after the fact, I realized what was happening. I was tuned into everybody's distress and stuff and taking it home with me, and then ended up with a stomach ache. And then when I was really young, I used to get really sick on occasion and throw up. And I kind of knew what that was. I was throwing up other people's energy that I took on. Not knowingly, but yeah. So I had to upchuck. I had to throw up to get it out of my system. And boy, I remember as a little kid, I hated throwing up. It was like not a good feeling until after it was all done, and then you go, oh my God, I feel good now.
Oh. Okay, we're going to go way back in time on this one and talk a little bit more about, from this question, how does Lemuria connect to Kumara? Explain that real quick.
Well, I think the Kumaras have always had a kind of inclination to align with that kind of awareness of what the Lemurians represented. So think back to old world Tahiti. Hawaii is an offshoot of like the Tahitian energies, as an example, and how they lived on those islands, surrounded by water, and what they had to do. Well, they had to connect. They had to stay connected. They had to get so connected with the land so they could survive. They had to stay connected with everybody, people-wise, in order to have that bonded community kind of feeling. It was a sharing kind of a sense. See, really, Lemurian energies is about sharing. It's about connection, communication. It's about equality. It's about sharing love, honor, respect, all that stuff that we value. The Atlanteans didn't incorporate so much of that. They were on a different focus. So you got to remember, there are planets out there who are totally mental, no emotional body per se, totally mental. And then you have some civilizations that are totally emotional, without a kind of a logical mind. Now, how are these cultures going to exist on this planet when you have this diversity? And my thought is, once we realize why we're all here, we'll get along. And this is not the only life. We have to get over this thing of the one life, so let's make the best of it. We have to get over that. Because if we only had one life, none of us would be here. There would be no beings on planet Earth. It would just be nature.
And one thing to remember too is that we raised our hand and we were selected to come and be here. We chose to be here. And so this light and this connection that you assisted us with today is why we are here. And so that does bring much hope to those who are kind of feeling down, right?
Well, here's the thing. Yes, yeah. Here's the thing. This is from the quantum. I'm looking at some phrases here or sayings that I'm going to use in the retreat when we go to Australia. So, and these are very short. They're very simple and very profound. So all lessons are gifts. All lessons are gifts. Now, if that doesn't change your perspective about life, then I don't know what would.
It brings an ease and a grace to it. It does.
And at some point, you will teach these gifts because that's what you'll do. If all experiences are gifts, wow. See, we're going to move out of this place of judging our experiences to just allowing them to be. And And that's a big challenge for the ego initially. Oh my God. But I was trained to analyze. Okay. Time to go take a vacation to Tahiti.
Who watched the movie Elvis Blue Hawaii?
Oh, I did. I don't think I watched that one.
No, you missed that one? Oh, my goodness.
I think so. Here's another one for you guys. So give up what you think you want. Give it up what you think you want. And if you just contemplate that, there's going to be some energies released in your body. Which is a good thing.
Yes, that is a very powerful phrase.
Mm-hmm. All I know for myself, life is getting better and better and better at my older, so-called older age. You know, I still get telemarketing calls. Well, sometimes they come through. Can I speak to your mom or dad? I am my dad. I am the dad. What do you want? Don't call again. Well, one thing when you get older and you start teaching, you're going to teach from your wisdom, and that's a beautiful thing because that's all you can teach anyway. So the new earth is going to be about respecting elders again, like in ancient times. Because there's nothing like the wisdom of life. What's that phrase? Time on earth kind of thing. Young kids don't have the wisdom simply because they're young. They may know a lot of stuff, but you only get wisdom by living a long time.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, there is a very interesting comment coming in, and it is about the younger generation. This is from, of all, Joy in California. And she says, these days, many young people find very creative ways of living prosperous and almost outside of the previous system. Do you have insight for future development, wealth, and the distribution, and this says the taping of the wealth consciousness? The tapping. I don't know.
Well, that's happening, and it'll be more evident as more of this younger generation, the millennials, start creating, shall we say, intentional communities. That's been around for decades, but it's slow going, and I think it's because it's in part been based on old thinking. But yeah, there's so many of us that want to be part of conscious community and living off the land. So I don't know when that's going to really come about, but, I think when the government gives up its hold on its private land, that's supposed to be for public, it'll begin to happen more.
And that's a whole another interesting conversation. And, with the public land, like national parks, let's say, are there portals and experiences in those places? That's why they've been designated natural parks.
Yes, in part, on that level. But look at it this way. Any place that you've been to in your life, you go, oh my God, what a beautiful sacred place. That's a portal.
And by portal, this means it's a portal to like another dimensional experience, because sometimes, this is easy. If you're in Hawaii, you could literally turn down a corner of a path and see a whole different experience. Would that be a multidimensional, a higher dimension? Well,
to me, portals, stargates, and the like are really more sacred-like places where it's easier to make that multi-dimensional connection. And it's not as polluted as, say, like the center of Los Angeles, as an example. But see, Los Angeles, City of Angels, at one time was, that's why they called it City of Angels. But look what it's come into. But any place that brings you joy, see, I tell people in Sedona here, there are so many portals here in Sedona because there's so many hiking trails. There's so many places that nobody goes to that you could, if you were adventurous and not afraid of falling off rocks and killing yourself. There's plenty of portals here to sit and meditate and tune in. So they're not just the 4 vortexes, the advertised vortexes. There are vortexes everywhere here. Just like Hawaii, there's a lot of places, especially the unspoiled places. There are places on reservations that still have that sacred energy. But really, we create the portal wherever we go. So if we're a portal, it doesn't matter where we walk to, that area becomes a portal because you are carrying that portal energy. Again, it goes back to consciousness. It's back to presence.
Have you had any experience with bilocation?
Oh, I've had people tell me, I'll give you an example. When I was teaching in Santa Fe, which is one of my favorite places, we were teaching there for a year, about 10 years ago. So I'm back home in Seattle, and then someone emails me and say, hey, I saw you at so-and-so in Santa Fe. So I just make a joke of it up. Must have been my other self.
Yes.
So people have said they have seen me in other places when I'm physically, home.
Yes.
Yeah, we do this all the time. See, all these things that we think are supernatural, they're really natural. They're really, has always been a part of it. It's just because society has toned it down, dumbing down all of this, we think it's like supernatural, but it's not. It's like no big thing. But it would be nice at some point to consciously teleport and levitate so we don't have to use cars and pay for insurance and buy gas. Yes. Just don't bump into me when I'm teleporting. Okay, watch that stop sign there, up there in the 5th dimension.
I'm just envisioning that, and that's such a fun picture. That's a really cool science fiction movie, soon to be reality, coming to a new Earth near you.
Yeah, somebody should make a movie about teleporting and kind of bumping into each other by accident there on the airplanes.
Get your chocolate out of my peanut butter, sort of thing.
Yeah. Well, you didn't signal when you turned right. Oh, yes, I did.
How do they keep all those transportations? Beam me up, Scotty. How do they keep that all straight on Star Trek?
Yeah, that's a good question. Hey, do we have any phone callers that like
we
to
have
ask
time
a
for
question
a
or
phone
something?
caller. We do. We do have time for a phone caller. We're going to go to Indianapolis, area code 317. Hi, you're unmuted. What's your name, please?
Hi, this is Sherry. Hi, Lorraine.
Hi, Sherry. Do you have a question for Kenji?
I do. I love the show. You guys are awesome. I'm learning so much. My question is, I've written it down so I don't forget because, wow, I've been all over the place listening to you guys. My question is, how do you get your information? Do you hear it from other speakers or do you experience it yourself? I do teach, and there is a part of me that I feel like if I talk about something and I have not experienced it, then I feel like I'm lying somehow. Even if I've heard it from other speakers or all over the internet or wherever I get my information. So I don't know if that's something you could touch on about how you get your information.
Well, it basically comes from my higher self, which is all of our higher selves are aligned to Prime Source. So really, when you tune into your I am presence and you channel that information, irrespective of what you've heard other people say or read about or seen in videos, that is accurate. So learning to trust your higher self downloads. So that's what you want to do eventually, is speak from your spirit. And they say it feels like it's like a flow of consciousness. It feels like a flow where you don't think. See, when you're channeling, and everybody can channel, everybody has, especially when we're little kids. But when you start channeling, there's no pre-thinking. It just comes through. You're always in the now moment. That's how
just like you did earlier on this show, because you said that I didn't write anything down. It just all came from spirit.
Yes, these activations that we do is all spontaneous. Yes, and it's according to the group energy.
In that spot.
Say again.
How can I get in that now moment quickly?
Well, that's probably something for another show, but we teach this in the retreats. It's a very personal, kind of like a personalized retreat experience. But just to speak in general, learn to meditate and tune in every day, or do something to where you tune in to your spirit every day, whether it's a nature walk, whether it's sitting in meditation for 5 minutes, whether it's doing healing work with someone else, because that forces you, in a sense, to tune in. Whatever you can do to tune in, whether it's cooking, whether it's journaling, whether it's doing art therapy, whatever it is that keeps you in the present moment. So I hope that's helpful.
That is very helpful. That was awesome.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're
Thank you so much. That was wonderful.
You're welcome.
But it also seems, Sherry, like you get the word, you're getting the message. Is there an issue with trust on the information? Kenji, how do you trust? It comes to a point where you just know it, right?
Well, that's the thing that we all go through. Am I crazy for what I just said? Am I tuned in? You go through all that self-doubt. And it's just a matter of practice. It's like learning to walk. You're going to fall down a lot before you can actually walk and stay upright. Same thing learning how to ride a bicycle when you're 4 years old. But I would say you can trust whatever comes through if it makes your body feel really good. Because your body is it's neutral. Your body is neutral. So it will give you feedback, neutral feedback. If you say something and then all of a sudden you go, oh, I shouldn't have said that. Well, you probably shouldn't have said that then. Because your body was, okay, well, not quite the truth. So it's not like you're going to be spot on 100% starting out. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to fumble around, and that's normal. So, like logos training, my God, it's like crap. We had a lot of failures. Whoops. But we learn. We learn from our mistakes, in a sense. A good teacher will say, learn from your mistakes. Learn from what you didn't do right the last time. Is practice. But again, the key is to be present. So one way you can practice that is when you listen to other people talking to you. How present are you, generally speaking, with conversation? If you're spacing out and future thinking or in your mind wanting to prepare the response, you're not in present time. To be in present time, you're just totally there with an empty mind, so to speak, and an open heart. Wow. That was new.
An empty mind and an open heart. Enough said right there.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So when I teach, I tune into the masters and the angels. I tune into my team, as I call it. And part of what I'm here to show people is there are many realms of consciousness. And it's not all woo-woo stuff. It's just normal stuff. So having conversations with masters and angels, that's just common, everyday stuff. It's no big deal. We do it all the time. It's just that when we're conscious of it, it's more fun.
Wow. Okay, that is just incredible work. I know it would be wonderful to learn that and to begin to experience those other realms of consciousness as we expand into it. We have time for one more caller. I'm going to do that after you explain your special offer, because this is really where people can go deeper into the work with you and the trainings that you bring forth, the quantum light weaving. And this is really a nice package. There's a lot here. So can you share with us how people can work with this package and what it's going to do for them?
Well, this is a package I do not believe I've created for any other show. We try to always offer unique packages that are fairly different from the previous ones. So this one actually is a very advanced package, and it's accumulation or a collection of my Sedona retreats, and the free gift offer is from the Mirabel near Tucson retreat I did a few years ago. So these Sedona retreats were fairly recent, 2016, 2017. So why this is unique is that the way that we've energetically created this package is that, and these are activations that we did for the students that attended in person. So the way that it's set up is that when you buy the package, it is as if you attended physically these retreats and got personally these activations, because they're live and evergreen. So just because they happened a few years ago, they're still live. There's still present day aliveness in them. And so it will be as if you were getting the teachings through these activations at these retreats. And the theme with all these retreats is about light and joy. And so there are altogether 43 activations, and that to me is a whole, that could last you for 5 years, could last you for 10 years. What we recommend to people is that they listen to it once a week before, they listen to it at least one time for the first week, but they can listen to it multiple times during that first week. And if they feel like they've gotten enough of that, then they'll go to the second activation and then proceed. And they can always review this like a year down the road, go through each activation in sequence on some kind of a regular basis. Now, what's beautiful about these activations is that every time you listen to it, you're going to listen to it and receive it at a different level, because you've shifted on the first activation, listening to it for the first time. When you go back and listen to it again, even if it's a week later, you're going to be in a different energetic frequency vibration space. And so now you're going to get a whole nother set of information or insights. And when you listen to it again, you're going to listen to it at another level. So it's almost infinity-wise on the levels that you can receive this. Let's see. We pretty much covered probably everything that you need to experience in this total package. And what I learned at the beginning when I started teaching was I thought I was just going to share the work with people. Chime's going off.
Oh, I don't hear a chime.
Yeah, well, I do. It's from the front porch. So chimes, yeah. Chimes are, see, you can hear the chimes. So chimes are good. All right, so we're teaching people through these activations. And what I learned early on was because people basically have blocks and issues to work through before they can actually receive the work, that activations are always pretty much two parts, the clearing part and then the attunement part. So we're covering the spectrum in a sense. And these are all spontaneous, and they're pretty much on every subject matter that you can think of. And we've tried to title it with a brief description of each one. So there's always a theme to these activations. And here's the neat thing. Even if you're not a healer or a psychic or someone that's into the healing arts or a life coach, but you do other stuff that is still as spiritual as being a healer, that it will enhance whatever you know how to do, it'll enhance what you do. So if you're a waitress, it'll enhance your waitressing skills just by the fact of listening to and receiving and absorbing the activation. It bypasses your logical mind kind of a thing. And you'll just notice the changes as you go through life, but you won't necessarily connect it with the activation. This is so common. I get like emails 5 years after I've worked on a person or after they've taken a retreat, and I'll just ask them just out of curiosity, well, how did that retreat or how did that activation help you in your life? And they'll just give me a nice, beautiful testimonial on the back. But I had to ask them because they wouldn't think to connect the dots. But when you ask people after the fact, years after the fact, somehow they'll remember, oh yeah, this is how it helped change my life in this way. And I get a lot of feedback saying it just changed my life. And that's all I need to know. That retreat, that 3 or 5 or 6 day retreat changed their life. That's all I need to know, that it helped them. I don't need to know more because I can tune in and go, yeah, that really did change their life. And that's what people come for. They want a life change. Yes, they say they want healing, but really what they want is a change in their life, their perspective.
And it's so beautiful that you have this available, even in digital form, for people to work with it and to just be immersed in these frequencies and these activations and just watch it unfold. How beautiful.
Yes,
thank you.
You're welcome. There are many, many minutes total of these activations, and 43 in all. So just imagine if you did one per week, that would be almost a year. But then you would go back
one activation, just one activation.
A week. Will take you to 43 weeks, almost a year. And then, of course, you'll want to listen to it again. So that's almost another year. And then you want to listen to it again. That's almost another year. But I've had people that tell me to this day, for the last 5, 6, 7 years since they first heard me on the internet, that they listen to an activation daily. That's hard to believe. Daily.
I know. I was going to say that people are going to not want to wait. They're going to want to hear all the activations, like all in one day.
But here's the other neat thing. We found this out through experience. It was not something I was told telepathically, but it was something that I saw within the students. And I saw this in every retreat that I've done, in every workshop that I've done, that it bonds people together, even if it's just for that one day or for that 1 week. It bonds people together so you never forget the connection spiritually. So this work helps to bond families together, especially if they listen to it together. It's so empowering if families can listen to these activations together in one sitting. It'll help heal all the stuff in the family stuff. And it'll just bond people together. It'll make that love connection so strong that, it's unforgettable.
See, that's very important. That's beautiful. Okay, so And we were talking earlier about, relationships as that mirror, that great mirror for us. This is beautiful. There are some people who maybe not in the position to put their maybe adult children in the same room at that level of conversation. So I'm just going to ask this question. Would it work if that was on? I mean, I guess the best scenario would say, let's sit down and just listen to this. Humor me. Listen to this. Or if that's not possible, could you play it like on silent?
Well, here's what you can do. You could play it as background music, although it's going to be an activation rather than music. You can play it in the background, barely audible for the family. Mm-hmm. This is great for babies to play this as background music for babies that had just been born, or babies that are teething, or 3-year-olds that need to take a nap. It'll put most people to sleep, basically. I've had people still to this day after years go, I cannot stay awake for your activations. I go, it's okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the ego getting in the passenger seat.
Well, they think they have to do it right by being conscious, by saying, it's very easy to zone out with these activations. That's okay, because you need to zone out then.
Yeah.
And it's good to zone out, because I know for myself, I need to zone out sometimes if I'm listening to somebody doing a meditation. And when I zone out, it's like, whoa, I don't know where I went, but I feel really good coming back.
And it seems like it was just a minute or a moment, and it was, in linear time, it was some time. So that's beautiful. Okay, well, thank you. I do want to say what a beautiful package of your studio-produced, very nicely produced audio programs with activations. Of course, that's available on your special offer link on this webpage. So, Kenji, let's go to our last caller. It is Randy in New York, and I want to say, hello, Randy. Do you have a question for Kenji?
Wow, thank you. All the compliments you've received, ditto, because I know they're true. Regarding being triggered, as this will serve everyone, I hope. When a bug lands on me, I smack it. It's an entrained reaction. Regarding discernment and balance about radical self-love and self-judgment and those type of things, is this something I'm going to have to master in this lifetime? Otherwise, I'm going to have to come back and live a whole other lifetime or more to get it right?
Well, the new Earth's about releasing all the need to make judgments about self. And then you won't make it with others. So you can't take judgments into the new Earth. So that's probably could be the hardest level of homework. So if you catch yourself making a judgment, just forgive yourself and say to yourself, okay, I choose not to make this judgment again. And if it comes around again, then just say it again. So it's retraining, and it's reframing your experiences. So I would say first, don't feel guilty that you just made a judgment. Just choose to be more judge-less next time. Now, what I do for insects, like mosquitoes, I say, you're not allowed in the house. And so if they bite me in the house, I try to shoot them away and then put on essential oil bug spray. But if they're persistent, if they get hit and they get smacked, well, I gave them warning. So you can do that with nature. Spiders, cockroaches in the house, you're not allowed in the house. Please stay outside. Okay. If you come into the house, you're either going to die from the bug spray, or I might have to recycle you down the toilet. See?
At this point, I invoke for discernment and that the mercy is swift and try to find compassion. Meanwhile, I just smacked myself and took this other being with me.
Yeah. But you can always say bless you. If you got to smack them, say bless you. Yeah. And just work on releasing the self-judgment about anything and everything. And that just takes probably take the rest of your life, so don't be in a hurry. Just whenever it shows up, just bless it, forgive yourself. Like whenever I catch myself swearing, and that's an old pattern that goes back to when I was young, I say, cancel that. So, I still catch myself, so I say, okay, cancel that. So you can do that too.
If we find a way to love in any circumstance, like with mosquitoes, I found a way to love. If you Google no mosquitoes, no chocolate, it takes you to the reality that mosquitoes pollinate cacao compared to what we've been marketed our whole lives in reaction to that word. I found a way to love. I thank you. You've addressed my question very, very well.
Okay. You're welcome.
Peace be with you.
Same
cool.
Here.
Yeah, thank you, Tony. Or Randy. Tony. Who's Tony?
No, maybe his former name in a last life.
Yes, I think I picked up on that. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I think you said it right there. You said a lot of really great things here, and I just want to remind everybody to go back into that really yummy space of where we were frequency-wise with you. I can certainly feel it right now, and it's so perfect. And to know that we no longer have to judge ourselves, that's really powerful, really powerful.
Well, we were trained to do that, so now we have to untrain ourselves to do it a different way now. See, so it takes you out of the right and wrong or blame game into a place of, okay, we're just going to do it differently now.
Yeah, we're just going to do it differently now. Surrender is really key here. And all the teachings and Kenji's mission into bringing forth the new earth from within you, each and every one of us, on this path of self-mastery, that is his mission. And Kenji, you do it so well. Thank you, thank you, thank you for this quantum conversation. As we say goodbye, I just want to give you a moment for some words to really send us out of here on that high vibe.
Okay, let's take a deep breath together as one. And know that your essential essence as spirit is one of joyfulness, loving kindness, wisdom, and inspiration. So know that you have permission to express all the qualities of your soul in this now moment without any prejudgment whatsoever. It's all good. It's all in the now. Be blessed and be well.
Beautiful words. We feel really amped up and refreshed and reinvigorated with this episode today of Quantum Conversations. Kenji, Kumara, thank you, thank you, thank you.
You're most welcome. And thank you all for being on the show.
And again, if you are interested in the works and the retreats and the activations of Kenji Kumara, please check out the special offer that's available on this webpage. And now it is time to dance our way to the cosmic heart, where we can hold this information and this feeling and just be with it. So be well. Thank you. Enjoy.